This video is basically an introductory video. We're here in Mayfair, London. This is a place that is mostly banking money. So this is an introductionary. This is a preliminary introductory video. I have to brush up on a lot of terminology because I've been mostly immersed in understanding how Europe works, and not so much how I kind of like have left the banking aside. But just a lot of keywords today. An Italian guy told me that he was bringing in Jamaican water to sell a product. He moved here. This is very common in Europe. He moved here as a waiter, he works here in restaurants, and he's basically trying to launch a company that brings in water. And I think a lot of Italians and Spanish and Greeks and some French, but mostly Italian, Spanish, and Greeks always think about hospitality and culinary startups. So he wants to bring water and then kind of sell an idea of Jamaican water with his food startup. And he really did not know a lot of the names, so I started giving him ideas. So basically, a pitch deck, elevator pitch is basically a short business proposal of what your startup is about. And the reason it's called an elevator pitch is because usually when you're in an elevator before going to work, you usually tell somebody else a short amount of information while you're in the elevator before you get to the place. I believe this is American corporate lingo. So basically, a pitch deck is used a lot. Like yesterday, I went to a fintech event in the Google building in St. Pancreas. It was very fancy, nice view of London from there. You can see the whole skyline. And it was most of these events consist on network introductions, maybe a panel. There was like 3 different panels, then pitches, and then prizes, and then networking at the end, which is one of the main reasons I go. If it has booze and some nice snacks, I actually really like the booze and the snacks. So elevator pitches are basically, as I describe, small business proposals, what you're gonna do. Then you usually present yourself, so they judge you how you present yourself. They judge you on the information that you're given, and they judge you on the draft that you do. And then there's usually, I'm gonna look more into detail because I don't wanna say something wrong, but a lot of the people that are funding are usually VCs, venture capital firms, private equity, and they're both interchangeable words. And they come and they are the ones who will fund you or not fund you. And then you start talking about seed investment. Series A, Series B. Series A is the first one, Series B is the second one. So seed investment is like when a startup is really starting and it's just in the initial phase, it's just an idea. For example, I have my startup, which is my YouTube channel, and it's I'm kind of pitching to people to try to get funding on it. I'm trying to tell people, like, this is my idea, this is why it's relevant, blah, 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 blah. The second the second idea is like the ICO phase. So ICO is an initial coin offering, and this has to do more with cryptocurrency. And I think because they were highly unregulated, right now they're not as common, and there was a lot of weird funding coming from different sources, and Cyprus was a place where a lot of the ICOs were. But it's really IPOs which are relevant. And IPOs is an initial public offering. This is really when a company goes public. So if a company has increased in size to a certain extent, then it has to go through the IPO, and this is when the prospectus gets drafted. There's other terminology that it's very common in the banking industry. For example, you have retail banks, which are kind of like Bank of America. They just do regular transactions. They're the ones that most people know. They do regular transactions. They do saving accounts. They're usually known for not handling an extreme amount of risk. And then investment banks, which have a lot more riskier investments, obviously. And investment banks usually are looking or scouting out for proposals, pitches, if you want to use the word that I've used, in order to fund projects that will yield returns to them. So the term is basically a return on investment. So, or return on equity, ROE or ROI, return on investment, return on equity. And this is really the word that a lot of people use. And then you have, I'm not gonna go into that much detail about the stock market or the crypto market because I've done several videos about this. But if you go to a lot of the events, like usually it's a good way to know how to invest and where to invest. Like I just went to an event, and right now there's a tendency to not really take the crypto as seriously anymore because it's becoming much more regulated. That's the word in the street. So you go to this event and you learn what's happening. So because the crypto is becoming more regulated, people are looking for the next new thing because they don't have the FOMO, fear of missing out, and YOLO, you only live once or something like that. So basically, for all those reasons, people are always looking for the next big thing. And the next big thing is already a bubble. It's called AI. It's artificial intelligence. So a lot of these projects are just already receiving a lot of funds, and people who have returns, who want returns, a huge amount of returns, they usually will use these funds. For example, in yesterday's presentation, the person who won was a young Brit, and I think a lot of the reasons she won the presentation, the pitch deck, is because she was really nice at presenting. She had like a really good attitude. You could just sense the good energy that she had, and she just used a lot of like London lingo, London terminology. So I think it was a little bit biased. But I haven't been there as long, but I kind of knew she would win because how the crowd reacted. But there are other ideas. There was a presentation on corporate bonds and trading corporate bonds, and I personally don't think bonds don't really yield as high returns as stocks or crypto, for example. So I don't necessarily think it would have been a easy sell for a lot of people who want quick returns back. But they're much more stable long-term investments like treasury bonds, etc. Treasury bonds are government bonds, but we're talking about corporate bonds mostly. This is all the ideas that I have right now. I cannot think of anything else.